What advice can you give to someone transitioning from school to the workplace?
Join YPG. What else? Partake. No, really partake and take as many opportunities you can get. Like honestly, I actually took on this position or pushed YPG so much because I was one of the past president at BCIT for the CSE student chapter. So given that experience, that kind of what built my resume to build YPG. So.
Welcome back to the workshop presented by Aplin Martin. On today's episode, I'm joined by David Liu and Catherine Zhang, and we discuss personal and professional development, and more specifically about the Young Professionals Group, also known as the YPG. David and Catherine have both played important roles within the group as past chair and current vice chair here at Aplin. We dive into the formation and the growth of the YPG and the value of creating a space for young professionals to learn, network, and build relationships within the industry. Since the recording of this episode, David is now pursuing another opportunity within the industry. He agreed that there was no reason to hold back from this episode from being released, and we are very grateful for David's time within the firm and his efforts for bringing the YPG to life. We are also excited to see how other talented leaders in the YPG, such as Catherine and many others, continue to grow and advance the initiative. It was a wonderful conversation and a great look behind the scenes of the Young Professionals Group, and I hope you all enjoy.
How are you guys?
I'm good. Thank you
How are you?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Not a problem. Great. Came in yesterday. It was like probably the first time that I came in and it was sunny and not dark or raining. So
Welcome to Vancouver.
Yeah.
You came at a good time, to be honest.
I
So.
was actually saying that. I was like, wow, it's actually pleasant when it's not raining out.
Yeah. Most beautiful place or something.
And now when we were driving in, I was like, are the mountains actually real? And when we were driving in, no, because it was every time. It was like it's either been cloudy or it's been misty. And I actually haven't been able to see. But when we were driving from the airport to the hotel, I was like, oh, it's like literally right there.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking cool.
That's why we love it here, just because of the mountains.
Yeah. That's why we pay the rent. So.
Awesome. So I'd like to get a little bit of background about you guys. Where did you grow up? Where you went to school? How many years in the industry? Years of experience? Catherine, we'll start with you.
So I grew up in the Lower Mainland. I grew up my whole life in Burnaby, and I live in Burnaby now. And I've been in the industry 4 years. So I've started after graduation here, and I'm still here.
Okay.
And yeah, I like it here so far, so that's good.
Did you go to school as well in BC or?
Yes.
Okay.
So I went to high school elementary school, like my entire life in Burnaby.
Okay.
And then I went to UBC, did my 5 years there, including co-op.
Okay.
And I co-opted around for a bit.
Were you on campus or did you live at home during university?
A bit of both.
Okay.
So the first and second year, I worked part-time, so I had to commute back and forth from school to home to work and everything. But then in third and fourth year, I decided to take it more chill and focus a bit more on school. So I decided to live on campus and enjoy, the campus life, the university life. So
And how did you like that?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, like UBC, it's its own community.
Okay, very cool.
So we have basically everything on campus if you walk around. It's a very nice campus. If you ask the students, they're not going to say the same thing because they're kind of stuck there and studying. But,
When you get them not in the classroom, you're able to share a
exactly.
little bit more and actually show.
Exactly.
Okay, very cool.
In hindsight, it was a great campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. David, yourself?
Yeah. So similarly, I grew up in Lower Mainland, went to high school, did the IB program. And then my parents are actually both somewhat involved in the medical industry. So I went to U of A for pharmacology for 2 years. And then decided that wasn't it for me. I was always good at math. So engineering was kind of what I always wanted to pursue. So then I went to BCIT for the degree program and the diploma program. This is my, I guess, 7th year now in the industry. And 5 of which are at Aplin. So
you actually didn't start in engineering. You started in a different...
Yeah, I started in pharmacology. And honestly, throughout high school, throughout the first bit of uni, I always thought I was going to go into pharmacy or something in medical, actually.
Yeah.
Honestly, me too. I think growing up in an Asian household, it's engineering or medicine or lawyer.
That's it. You got one of the three.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But I always liked engineering, and I chose civil because I wanted to see what I design or what's built.
Yeah.
And honestly, even when I first started dating my my fiance now, I guess,
Yeah.
we would drive by my projects and I would say, oh yeah, I did that.
Every
That's
time
me.
you take the long way around, you'd add the extra 15 minutes on.
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah.
want to see that highway? Let's go drive.
Did I mention about that earlier?
Yeah,
Very
nice
flex.
scenic route. I would show them her like a high rise or something. I'm like, yeah, I did that. And they're like, oh, the high rise? No, the road.
You see this stuff underground?
Yeah.
I did that.
I'm like, you actually can't see it, but we're over it right now.
Yeah. When rains, it doesn't flood. You're welcome, guys.
That's funny. Very good to hear about. It's cool to hear about like past projects and being able to actually see some of the work that you do. Because again, a lot of the work that it's probably one of the most satisfying jobs, aside obviously from getting the high five from the client at the end of the day, is actually being able to pass by like a local project or something that you've been able to contribute to. Catherine, do you have an experience like that as well?
Oh, 100%. A lot of my projects right now are actually in Burnaby. So every time I
Okay.
drive home, I'm like passing by all of my projects.
Do you get a little bit of PTSD though from where
A little
oh
bit.
my God.
You're like,
Yeah.
ah, crap. I took so long to design this one little letdown and no one's using it.
You try to funnel the
Yeah.
people towards it. You're
Exactly.
like, that's awesome. So you guys mentioned you've been a part of Aplin for a little while now. How did you guys get involved?
Yeah, so Aplin was always a huge sponsor at BCID. And every time we went to industry professional nights or any kind of social networking stuff,
Yep.
Aplin is always there. And then when I worked in my old smaller land development company, we saw consultant jobs or drawings all the time just for coordination purposes.
Yeah.
And then I saw Aplin's drawing come my way, and I was like, wow, this is the best drawing I've ever
Look
seen.
at this Picasso.
I was like, holy
Look at this
crap,
Picasso
this
of
is
an engineering
amazing,
mind.
right? And I want to learn how to create that, really.
Yeah.
And so when I went back to school to finish my degree program, I met Jordan, actually, the one
Yeah.
from a previous episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, he told me more about Aplin as a company. I was interested, and yeah, and I applied. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, mine's a little bit different. So I went to UBC. Honestly, I had no idea what Aplin was when I first.
Trust me, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
So, not to just putting that out there, I didn't really know what Aplin did. I didn't know what they do, but I got the job through our now branch manager,
Okay.
Robert.
Yep.
So we knew each other through my previous co-op, and so I, being a graduate looking for a job, shot him an email, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a job. I was wondering if you had an opening. And so I got the job basically through him and connections.
Yeah.
And it was actually very similar work, land development, as my co-op. So that worked out really well because my experience through co-op helped my job here.
Yeah.
And they're actually direct competitors. So.
Oh, that's funny. And why I'd like to ask that is, and that's actually a good point that you brought up through relationships, through people that you've met through, and even just through email, is that a big part of it is being able to mentor people, and the YPG group does foster those relationships between other young professionals, right? So it's a lot of
100%, yeah.
a lot of younger individuals right now, you're able to do the schooling, like you guys both went to great schools, but they don't necessarily teach the softer skills or the community skills or the like the social aspect of the job, which is actually quite important. So I'd like to go now, I guess, into this episode and discuss about what exactly the YPG or Young Professionals Group is. So.
Yeah.
I can speak on that
Yeah.
because he's a founding father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I founded or helped found the Young Professional Group, honestly, it was actually just when COVID first started, and you can see.
I was gonna say that's a funny time to
No,
start.
really. I mean,
Start a social group. Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's actually one of the reasons, because people were so remote and so distant, and I wanted to get people more involved. I mean, like Julian yourself, you're from Toronto, and before, like you said, there's so many people in Aplin that worked in different offices all across Canada, and without YPG, I would never have met you, actually, right? So even Catherine, actually, her working in the Vancouver office and me working in the Surrey office, we met through a Young Professional event. So the social networking, the collaborative events, that was the main focus I had when I was creating the framework for Young Professional Group.
Now, going back too, then, was there an inspiration or was there something that you would be like, I feel like we've all been, like, I've played sports my entire life, and that's sort of like a group, I guess, that you could say, or a social club, something like that, right? That creates those friendships and stuff like that. Was there something that inspired you to do that as the YPG group here?
Yeah, I mean, like every single sporting event that we've helped create now. We have the softball team, we have the volleyball team, we have even had the soccer team. So all of these, it really just help guide the whole framework of collaboration.
Yeah, and then also just to add, I think at least for my previous companies, YPG was always a thing with my other consulting jobs, like during co-op. So knowing that Aplin had a YPG group when I joined was actually one of those like motivating factors to join Aplin, knowing that we have a YPG little group.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very hard for young people these days. They get intimidated easily, you know, like being in fresh grad, to meet all these, you know, prestigious engineers, you know, and prestigious people that you're working with. So it's nice to have this environment to, like, you know, push these younger people to talk in a
you don't want to say it's to push people,
No.
but it's a
highly encouraged.
Exactly. It's a good way to, like an excuse almost for yourself to actually get out there and share who you are as a person.
Yeah, and it's like
to
a
express
super
yourself.
non-formal way to meet people too.
Exactly.
And it's actually funny. Sorry, it's funny that
okay.
Catherine even mentioned that because when I first started in 2019, there wasn't a young professional group.
Yeah.
Or I guess there kind of was a semi non-formal one where we just get emails about some events that the industry was hosting, like EGBC events or ACEC events, and that was kind of the extent of the YPG at that time.
Yeah, like in my interview, I remember asking, "Hey, is there a YPG?"
Do you have a
yeah.
program? Oh, that's very
and then
nice.
and then they were actually they mentioned that they were starting it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, I'd like to be a part of that." Initially, I wasn't a part of YPG, but eventually I.
That's actually that's so touching to hear. Wow. No,
You're like,
like, that's so nice to hear.
That's kind of the reason that you're here.
Yeah, because I mean, as soon as I started, I said to the upper managers, like, we don't have a YPG. Are you for real?
Yeah.
We need to start one right now. And people kind of brush it off for a little bit. And then when COVID started and when people were actually becoming distant and drifting apart, this is very much needed at that point.
So now I think you guys spoke a little bit about it earlier, why you guys both felt it was important, but why did you feel, I guess, Catherine, this is a good question for you. Why did you feel it was extremely important to you to become more than just, I guess, an office rep and that you wanted to take more of a leadership role as well on it?
So I personally really enjoy planning events and I like meeting new people. So I think just being a part of YPG as more of just, you know, just someone who works at Aplin, to me that feels good and I enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I know like we all volunteer to do these things, but you know, you kind of find joy in the events that you plan when it becomes successful. You see all these people meeting each other and having a good time. It always feels good to help contribute in some way.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing too as like being like the office rep for the Toronto office is that it's really, I don't want to say it's satisfying to see even just like people come back the next day and be like, wow, that was actually like a lot of fun of what we do. And like you see different people in different lights more than just what they are at the office. Because sometimes, you know, like a lot of people maybe they can be stressed at work and there's a lot of tasks going on and we all know how busy everybody's lives can be, right? So if they're able to spare like even an hour or two outside of their work time to kind of be with you guys and hang out with you guys, it's very fulfilling almost to feel.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's nice also because, you know, you come back to the office and that's kind of like the topic of discussion, you know. Hey, are you going to this event? Or hey, have you done? Or how was the event for you? Mm-hmm. And it's nice to be able to talk to your coworkers about things outside of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way to meet people too and see them outside of work. And you know, you see someone that's always stressed out and then just head down and just doing their work, and then you see them partying it up outside. It's like, I didn't know you were like this.
I thought you always just wore the blazer and tie. You're a little bit more than that. Okay, very cool.
Yeah. And it's nice because like we were the reason that they're not stressed and people have these interactions, you know.
Yeah. So now we talked a little bit about the events outside of the office and the type of events. What are the other educational events that you guys also like to put on for us as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, social is obviously a big part of young professional group, but the professional development and the networking portion is huge as well. We always have some presentations that was put on, whether that's internal or through external.
Yep.
A lot of the internals, we would talk to the upper managers as well, getting their point of view, for example, lessons learned or how they got to the positions they've gotten. So, and you know what, there's so many that's coming out now too, and people have been wanting more of those kind of perspective type of presentations as well.
I think one of the most popular ones, or most of the popular PD events, professional development events, are the panel discussions.
Yep.
So that's what, like David was saying, we have all of these project managers come in and they talk about their lessons learned, for example, when they're writing proposals, like what to watch out for, what not to watch out for. And then construction management was a big one. So those are big topics that obviously as young professionals you want to learn. And it's hard to learn unless somebody's there to guide you.
Exactly.
I think.
Yeah, and I actually think that the platform we're on now currently, like the podcast, is also a way to where young professionals don't have to just like, okay, I got to dedicate this 1 hour during work to, it's a different way being able to like share your experiences and stuff and where you got the inspiration for and your backstory to become kind of, I guess, one of the first founders of the YPG and the current chair.
It's going to stick.
Yeah. I guess now going back between of all the events that have been hosted, what would you say has been the most effective professional one?
In terms of professional development?
Yeah,
or?
in terms of professional development, what would you say has been your favorite one?
Oh, I think my favorite is the construction and administration one, the panel discussion. I think that's one that affects everyone that works here. Whether you're an architect, whether you're a planner, we're all somehow involved with construction in some way, shape, or form. And getting, things like lessons learned or things to watch out for, even contracts or the law.
Yeah.
These are all things that we should all learn from. So that one was my favorite.
I like the financial literacy one. So we actually brought someone from, I think it was RBC in external, and they did a little presentation. I'm personally pretty bad with my finances. So
You're not the only one.
That one was pretty good for me. Like I learned a lot of things that, like unless you really dive deep into YouTube videos or I don't even know. Like my parents didn't really teach me that. And so I think that one was a good one. And it helps everybody. Yeah. Even people who have kids who are like, it helps everybody.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing we want to hammer home about about what we do here, like I guess what you guys do mainly for the YPG group, is it's not just strictly about work. It's meant to be for everything outside of the office. Like you said, financial literacy and what you do with your money, right? Like that's not something you're gonna go to your boss and be like, hey, my last check, like what should I be doing? You know what I mean? That's shocking for you. Like, is it really, like, can I be doing that? Like, that's something you want to be hearing from a different type of expert, right? Maybe not so much even from your parents or from somebody from work, right? But being able to, for the company to provide that sort of outlet and that sort of education, I feel is great.
Totally. And it's not just for YPs either, right?
Yeah.
I always say we are an inclusive group, guys.
That's what I say.
We're not ageist, all right?
Yeah, the young doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, if you're young at heart, feel free to join too. Feel free to attend as well. We're for everyone.
Yeah.
So.
Now, we'll go to the social side of it now. What has been one of your most memorable or favorite social event, you think? Or that one that people keep asking to repeat or do again?
So I was in the past social coordinator, so I'm kind of biased. Okay, like all of them.
Any of the ones you find.
All of my events were amazing. No, I think generally people like the ones where there's open space. There's a lot of just interacting in an open space. So we've had very positive feedback for bowling.
Okay.
And I know this is the case for the branch offices as well, not just Lower Mainland, where bowling was a good one. I think it was axe throwing. We've done a lot. The virtual escape room was good because that was interactions with a bunch of offices.
Yeah.
I think the mini golf one was good too, right?
Yeah.
Basically, anyone with free food and free booze, I am in.
Who doesn't love free booze?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, talking about these events, is there an event specifically where you've also enjoyed it a lot enough to take it outside of the YPG and also done it like to like your friend group, be like, hey, like I actually kind of did this, and like, would you guys want to do it? Because even like the paint night, like I've done it more than one time. And
did you?
Yeah, and same thing with the axe throwing. Like that was something, I might have not done with my friends, but definitely something that like I've suggested and that we've been wanting to do.
We did a pottery class or pottery painting.
Ceramics?
The ceramic one, yeah. I mean, I didn't even know that thing existed.
Yeah.
Actually, like
So what the event was, we basically went to some studio in Kits in Vancouver, and we painted mugs, we painted plates, we painted random ceramics, and then a lot of people in the office actually still use all of the things that we painted. So
I still use mine in my office.
Yeah.
So.
Our paint and sip night ones are sitting, and we hung them all up in our office.
Right?
That's
That's so cute.
Yeah. And it's a good date night, you know.
Yeah, I was always saying that me and Leah, my fiance, should always go to that one all the time.
Yeah, I've suggested that for many date nights. Everyone's like, hey, what should we do? You know? And I'm like, you guys should go try out the ceramic painting. It's super cheap, too.
Yeah.
Super affordable.
And I think it's also being able to hear ideas, because what I like to do in our office whenever, and I'm sure you guys do it as well, as your rep when you're planning the events, is I'll ask for their feedback first before, like usually we will get like the theme from you guys and you'll be like, oh, we want to do something artsy, or this is kind of what we want to branch out to. So what I'll do is I'll give the feedback to the YPGs and I'll say, hey, here's kind of what we want to do. Now, what do you think is fun, or what do you want us to do?
What do you suggest?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
What I want to hear from you guys, because
Yeah.
you're the ones that are going to be taking place in this, right? And at least that way, because growing up, a lot of my friends like were very into sports, and we all like to do sort of a different thing. And when you're in the office, you have all these different personalities. from
Everybody's
all of
so
these
different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all these different. So you're getting a lot of different feedback, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, you are going to be doing different things that you haven't done before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, especially for engineering, like, you have so many people who love sports. So we have sports-specific ones. So, for example, we went to watch the Canucks game, the Edmonton office went and watched an Oilers game. You guys went and watched a Raptors game.
Yeah.
But there's also, like, for example, architects who are more artistic than engineers are, clearly. Tell.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's hard to please every single person, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the feedbacks we get is somehow just involving every single person. But usually it's between something physical and something not super physical.
Yeah.
So, and we usually just somehow pick one and then we'll do the next one. That's the other one kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, in your roles, obviously, you have a lot of input, and you have a lot of input into past events, into current events, and then into future events. What have you learned from your roles in the YPG that you feel like have helped you in your career personally and professionally, acting as sort of mini bosses and mini presidents and mini, right? Because when you break it down to its simpler terms, right, you are the ones kind of leading the group, right? You are almost acting as the mini general manager or the mini manager of the office, right? You're just managing a small.
I think that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Because basically you can mess up as a YPG chair, but you can't mess up as like a company chair. So it's a great. You
can run the YPG.
Yeah.
Don't run the company.
Exactly.
So it's like great experience, you know. That's a kind of a, you know.
It's a good learning step,
Yeah.
stepping stone. Yeah, for sure.
Someone said that at some ACC like network panel discussion, and I thought that was very true.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can make the decisions for a YPG group, and it's fine if things go south. You can't do the same when you're in a senior level.
Yeah. I think the biggest, so I work in, Capital Works, where our clients are all like cities or publics, and we deal with like taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And so every single one of our projects, local residents get very finicky about what you're doing to my front yard, or my sidewalk, or why is he getting a sidewalk? I'm not. Why is he getting a wall? Things like that, right? So one thing I've kind of just learned through YPG is you just cannot make every single person happy.
Yeah.
So you try your best, and you know what? If 51 out of 100 people are happy, you did a great job. And that's it,
Majority wins.
Freeze the majority.
We actually had a project recently where we went to a public consultation. Some people said, hey, we want to delete this portion of the scope of work. Yeah. And we're like, sure, whatever. You guys voice your opinion. We'll do it. And then as soon as we start construction, the other half came back and said, why did you delete it? I want it back now. So, you just can't make everyone happy, right?
Yeah. And I think that's good good too is right as well. Same thing. Going back to YPG is being able to at least provide, like you said, different options and different outlets for other people to also express themselves. Right. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy, even if yourself, right? Like, even if there's something like, I'm sure the first time you're like, oh, I'm going to be doing pottery. And then,
and then it was fun. It turned out fun.
Yeah. You're like, wow, okay, this is like a different experience that I would have not have actually thought it would be a half decent time. And then you come back and like, wow, I would actually do it again kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, another thing to add. So personally, I'm not a very good public speaker. Or like in meetings, like, you know,
welcome to the podcast.
I was gonna say, I don't think we could tell. Yeah.
So like things like this, it definitely exposes you to different opportunities like that. Like as the vice chair, or you know, just being part of YPG and having to run these social events or these recreational events that we're a part of, it's really taught me to public speak.
Yeah.
Like you should have seen me last year or 2 years ago.
I think even last year when I was the current chair or standing chair, every time Catherine ran an event, I was like, hey, you should do a speech. You should tell everyone how things are going.
Sabotage or you had it in you?
No.
Highly encouraged.
But now I'm much more comfortable with it.
Awesome.
That's also why I agreed to do this podcast. Thank you, YPG.
So I know now that you kind of spoke about your challenges with speaking previously. Going through, I guess, the history of YPG when you first started to where it is now, were there any struggles or challenges that you found with the group and getting it to stick and getting attendance? I know in Toronto, a lot of the times with us being like a commuter city, we struggle at times, obviously, with attendance, and that's just due to the fact that you are bringing so many people from, say, Scarborough or Richmond Hill or Mississauga, and we all commute to this one little spot in Toronto that's not the easiest to get to.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yeah, I think when COVID was happening, you know, it was a little easier with hybrid or virtual events, even though they sometimes seem not as the funnest or whatever, but organizing actually was a lot easier, to be honest. But now, like you said,
you send them the link.
Yeah.
Please join now.
Please join now, yeah. And now, I mean, with the commute, with the attendance, and now everyone wants to do something, right? Yeah. Like everyone's out, the nice sunny days, right? Everyone wants to do different things. Yeah. So getting a group of people to agree to doing one thing was the toughest job, I think, part of this, and getting and getting the other offices to participate in events that I guess the Lower Mainland guys are interested in. Sometimes can be seen as like bias towards Lower Mainland.
Just a little bit. It's just because branch offices are kind of far, and you guys are so small. It's hard to incorporate everybody into an event. We always try to do the virtual events to incorporate the branch offices, but obviously that's not going to be the case for in person. Yeah. So for example, like one of our branch offices, there's like 3 YPs. You can't really run an event with 3 people. Yeah. So that's definitely a tricky part, and I think another hard part is something that's similar to what David mentioned. Like we're in Vancouver, he's in Surrey. It's quite far from each other. So finding a venue and finding a location is always the toughest because everybody in Surrey wants to stay in Surrey. Everyone in Vancouver wants to stay in Vancouver. So like just pleasing everybody is never going to happen. And then, I think also I've kind of like, I feel this now, but just like finding time to plan these events. I know everybody has a busy schedule. Like the social coordinators now, they have their own projects to run. They have their own lives. And like YPG is a volunteer. Yeah, that's true. That people want to do and want to help with, but it's definitely hard to find time. Like everyone's got their own deadline. Especially over the year, right? Your role, your responsibility grows. I think when I was first doing YPG more hands-on, I was very junior in my position, and now I'm more intermediate and running my own team projects and stuff. I just could not find the time anymore. So like right now, I'm still helping with the recreational activities, like the volleyball team, the sports showdown. It's just impossible to find time. So how many events would you say you guys put on then outside of the YPG and stuff like that? So we have a volleyball team. What else did you just mention? Sports showdown. So that's what that is between different consulting firms. We basically compete against these other consulting firms on like typical sports. So for example, we'll have a volleyball event or have a basketball event and see who comes out on top. It's usually like a round robin.
Yeah.
So on average, so volleyball is every week right now. Softball is like a company one. It's not really YPG specific, but that one's also every week. And then once Sports Showdown comes around, it's going to be once every 2 months or so.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of events going on, and it's hard to juggle for sure.
Not to mention, some of us volunteer for organizations outside of work too, like ACEC or EGBC or things like that. So there's a lot of events, man. There's just a lot going on.
Time management is
yeah.
So now that we talked about kind of, I guess, the challenges, and then you said, but obviously getting people to these events is probably one of the most satisfying, and hearing feedback saying that it was positive. Was there an interaction you might have had with a young professional that's kind of stuck with you that was, you've heard that, wow, this has like really helped me grow professionally and personally?
So I actually invited a few people out for just like, it was for the Sports Showdown. It was like a happy hour thing that we were doing. So I invited some people on my team out just to kind of network and socialize with everybody. And it seems like just getting them out there is very, very good for their career. It's just a good way to network. So I think the Sports Showdown concept itself is really great for these young people's careers. Like it just gets their names out there. And it's over something so minute like sports. Like everybody bonds over sports, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know? So that's definitely beneficial. And even for me too. Like,
yeah, just chatting about things that aren't just work related.
That's right.
Like you're even able to be like, so like how, like on your way here, where did you go? Like how did you pass by here, right? Just something so small, and then once you're able to get a window into or a glimpse into somebody's life, you're actually able to get to know them a little bit more. And then there's some little piece that you might be able to, when you do work in the office together, you're like, oh, okay. Like I remember he probably, like maybe he got stuck in traffic because he takes that way, right? So there's some little portion of their life that you're able to kind of unlock and then bring into the workplace after that.
Yeah, I think for me it was the axe throwing, actually, because afterwards we were talking with people I work pretty closely with, actually, but we talked so much about work that when they told me about their personal life, I was like, wait, you snowboard? Wait, I snowboard. Hold up. Should we head up the mountain sometimes? Wait. So yeah, and then other times, actually, I remember there was one time a fairly junior person came up to me and said, like, these social events were a great way for them to meet new people, because they themselves are, generally speaking, very introverted, or they're too scared to talk to people and open up or whatnot, and get some beers and people and then just let loose, right? So
and that's what I like to do. Same thing with our team, right? Is not that I'll put, but I'll be like, hey, you guys coming to the event, or you guys, you know what I mean? You come to the event, here's what we want to do. Like, what would you guys like to do, right? Because it is important for them to see, not just for us to, I guess, decode them or learn about them, but also them to see us in a way where it's like, oh, he's not just the guy on the computer.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Not just a hot
that's
ass.
That's giving me the red lines. That's the guy that's like, oh, here's, you know what I mean? Here's how I like to do things, or just for certain work, right? They're able to see you in a different light too, that, hey, I'm also not just somebody you work with, but I also have things outside of work that affect me too.
Yeah. Like you can connect on a personal level. You know?
Exactly, yeah.
So I guess what I'd like to talk about now is when you first started the YPG and where you are now, I guess where it is now, was there like a welcome to the YPG moment, or welcome to, I guess, when you guys are organized? It doesn't have to strictly be with YPG, but it could also be earlier in your career where you're like, wow, this is a lot of stuff, or a lot that I'm taking on, where you felt and you're like, something where you were able to, I guess, come through, and now you learned from it. You were able to take it as like a learning lesson to where you are now.
I think when YPG first started, the budget wasn't very big, and participation level, honestly, wasn't like crazy.
Yeah.
But the year after, all of a sudden, it just like exploded.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot more people involved, a lot more attendance, a lot more events.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was just like, holy crap, what did I get myself into here? Oh no.
Like, people want to hang out with me.
Yeah. And then even every week or every month, I'm like, I have another event? What? And then so that's kind of where I was like, oh man, welcome to the engineering, welcome to a YPG kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I touched on it earlier. The whole time management thing, it sucks a lot of time out of you, you know?
Yeah.
So I think just last year even, I was part of YPG for a long time at that point, but still just planning all these events and having to keep track of all these events and having these like conflicting days, I'm just like, oh my God, there's so much to do. I don't have time to do any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those defining moments.
How about yourself, actually? Yeah, what was your welcome to YPG event?
My welcome to YPG? I think it honestly was the very first time when I was starting to coordinate an event, I guess, because I obviously, like, I like to plan things with my friends, and I like to do a lot of the organizing, but not that I know kind of what they're like, because we've known each other for so long, but it's a lot easier where it's like, hey, like, let's try this, because I'll know most of the time we'll be like, oh yeah, like, we're down for it, or we'll be very interested to do it, right? But like we mentioned earlier, is that there's so many different personalities and a lot of different people that you work with that you don't know their background. So it's getting feedback almost before you actually schedule it, and thinking about that portion, right? That people might be more sensitive to not doing certain something, right? But taking that into account versus like, I can tell my buddy no, we'll just do it, and and he'll kind of be down for it, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
True.
And I think also, it's not really to answer your question, but I think like YPG is great because, again, you can really foster these like connections that you have with your coworkers. And like, for example, like David and I have become very close through YPG, and then I've become very close with a lot of people at Aplin through YPG. So it's honestly great.
Yeah. All it takes is one conversation to actually,
exactly.
like you said, get a window into somebody's life, into what gets them going, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, and then you're actually able to bring that relationship to work, and then you never know how it actually might help them and help you when you guys actually may not cross over in a project, but that one time you do, you'll remember, okay, like, hey, he kind of likes doing this, right? Just those first couple of moments.
And I mean, you never know where your career is going to take you, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all working at Aplin today, but people do leave and come back and do something else or whatever, right? And having that connection, having that bond, that lasts a long time, right?
It does.
And however big we think like the world is, the consulting world
it's
so small. It is so small.
It's not that big. So the chances of you keeping a connection with somebody that, hey, I did go bowling with them, and I remember that striker spare that they had in the 4th grade.
Mr. 202.
Shout out to Mr. 202.
Right? But something just as small as that, you'd be like, and that's when you'll open up like a LinkedIn message to them. Yeah. Be like, hey, I remember that time we did so-and-so, like, would you want to go out and play another game with me or something like that?
And it's actually a good point that you bring up. Like the Sports Showdown event that I was mentioning, where we play with a bunch of other companies and get all of the consultants together. Like, it's basically the same thing. Like, we go golfing together now, and we go like just go out together in non-work setting. Yeah. And then eventually one day they could become our clients. We could work on a project with them. They could be doing the mechanical work for us, and we're doing the civil. Exactly. So you never know. It's great.
And it wasn't just civil either, right? They're mechanical, electrical, and some of them, they work in all different places too. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. And kind of how we mentioned before is when you do get to know somebody, even not even just with Aplin, but like you said, a different discipline, the chances that they're almost more willing to give you that extra minute or two during their busy day are so much higher when they kind of remember you outside of just an email signature.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, just having that personal connection, having that personal bond, it means so much than just a name on some screen or something, right? Or on an email kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Some people don't even put their name on their email signature, guys. So, like, having that connection helps, obviously. So
I'd like to end off, I guess, with 2 questions from one of our YPGs. That's actually Michelle from Toronto. The first one is, how important is networking and participating in events outside of the workplace? And what are some effective ways for a young professional to build their network? I guess you can almost do it in 2 pieces. If you like.
I mean, from our conversation in the last little bit here, and I think anyone can tell now, networking is key, is crucial to your career.
I got this job through networking.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm only here because of that.
Yeah. So networking is key. I think one thing that was told to me before was, honestly, our job, a monkey can do our job sometimes. You can train anyone off the street to do it. Yeah. I mean, it's not that simple, but you get the idea. Yeah. But really, it's you can't teach someone how to talk to people, how to get clients, how to network.
Personal, being genuine.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So it's those type of things that it only comes with experience, right? So networking, I would say, it will help your career far more, or not far more, but maybe a bit more than just knowing the standards or engineering guidelines kind of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. becoming, I think, if your goal is to become a project manager, half of it is to network and, you know, build those relationships. So I think networking is so much bigger than a lot of people think.
Yeah. And like for us engineers, right, like knowing your stuff.
Yeah.
That's like the bare minimum, guys. Like
That's what they tell you. That's
you
what
know,
you learn in school, right?
Yeah. It's like in school, you know, you get a good grade, you get out, you graduate. Guys, that's the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, what else? What's next?
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of people are, like you said, are looking for that extra. I don't want to call it flair, but are looking for that little bit of extra that isn't on a resume. Right?
Yeah,
Like, how do you
exactly.
answer a question. How do you talk to people? Are you respectful when you're going around and listening?
Exactly. And what do they say? Like 80% of jobs out there are not posted or
Yeah.
something. Catherine being one that, you know,
I'm
got
a
a
great
job.
example of that.
Exactly.
You might not have even known that they were looking for somebody until
Exactly.
that moment, right?
So yeah.
And then the second question here is, what advice can you give to someone transitioning from school to the workplace?
Join YPG. What else? Partake. No, really partake and you know take as many opportunities you can get. Like honestly, I actually took on this position or pushed YPG so much because I was one of the past president at BCIT for the CSE student chapter. So given that experience, that's kind of what built my resume
Yeah.
to build YPG. So
Yeah, and just to talk about, I guess, like once they get to the workplace, as a fresh grad, everyone's scared and intimidated, right? So ask the dumb questions. Like
Take the
now,
chance.
yeah, now's your time to ask the dumb questions. No one expects you to really know anything because like you don't have experience as a student or as a graduate. So now's the time. Like once you get more experience, more years on you, that's when you know there's more expectations on you.
And that's when I would agree with you. And
Yeah.
like, I wasn't the most social person, I guess you could say, but as you gain more experience and as you gain more knowledge into what you're actually talking about,
Yeah.
right, you start to come out of that shell, right, being able to talk about different things and sharing your expertise with younger people and mentoring, right? But you wouldn't get that if you didn't initiate the first part, right?
That's right.
It takes two
Yeah.
people to actually to tango, right?
exactly, yeah.
And honestly, like, as I guess like a mentor to some of like the people on my team, it helps us understand how they're thinking too by them asking questions and starting that conversation. Because like, how am I supposed to know you don't understand something if you don't ask? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just continue to explain it the way I'm explaining.
Yeah.
But that might not be the best way for you, and I wouldn't know that unless you spoke up and told me. And like, I push them always to ask me the dumb questions because there's no dumb questions.
Of course.
Yes.
So, last one, I guess. Where do you see the YPG in the future, and what would you envision the future looking for? I know right now I love the events that we're putting on. They're fantastic. The personal development ones followed by the social one the rotating month by month. Do you have any grander plans, or is there something you would like to incorporate that you've been thinking about, or that you've seen from an outside organization or perspective where you're like, wow, this would be, not that it would be a hit because it would be fun for everybody, but that it would help young professionals grow to that next level?
Yeah, so we're actually starting at Toastmasters, and it's run by, it's a YPG initiative, but it's open to all of Aplin, and I think it's a great idea. Like I said, I'm not very good at public speaking, so I think this is a great way for us.
Again, we wouldn't know. But I can do
Why, thank you. But yeah, so like it's a great way for these young professionals to develop and to learn these skills. Like you're gonna have to present in meetings, you're gonna have to present to clients, and I think that's a great initiative that we're taking on.
Yeah.
And I also think that the YPG trajectory is very, very good. It's on the right path. Just being open to everybody. There's not really much else you can really ask for a group like this.
I think the podcast is a great first step too, right? Like this is a great outreach,
Yeah.
right? But one other thing I'm hoping to see in the future is if we can actually organize like a conference even with all the YPs across Canada. You know, go somewhere, go camping or something even, right? And even combine it with Toastmaster, have presentation, things like that. So
Yeah, do like a little professional development social event. Like
exactly, combine it.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll
All right.
see if
Guys, pitch it, guys.
Derek and David, make sure you're listening to that. No, that's awesome to hear. And yeah, like I said, I've been part of YPG ever since I guess it came into inception, and now I'm very proud and happy to say I am one of the reps. So thank you to you guys for all your hard work that you had starting the YPG and putting everything.
And also, like,
Thank you for your hard work,
exactly.
honestly.
Like, Toronto wouldn't be having events without you.
Yeah. But again, like the guidance you guys have done, and when I say that, I think I'm speaking on behalf of our group and everybody else as well, that we do like to thank the hard work you guys have put on, and thank you guys for joining us today and sharing your knowledge and experience. I think we can take a lot from this. And then stay tuned for our next episode as well, and have a great day.